Today on the Nerdy Gritty, Fantastic Beasts has us talking fan service, how it's done well and how it's done poorly.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I'm Fox.
I'm Dez. Hey, partner, how you doing this high noon?
You're a cowboy.
I'm a cowboy.
I'm a cowboy.
I boy
No,
all
I'm
them
the cowboy.
I'm not
the one
a
who's been
cowboy.
playing Red Dead Redemption 2.
I'm a cow spectator, I guess.
You do love watching cows.
Yeah, I mean, depends on how good looking them cows are.
You have a problem, sir.
It's cows and also chipmunks, according to our Kingdom Hearts
hilarious
playthrough.
and gross. Yeah, I've been playing not a lot of Red Dead Redemption. I've been playing lots of different games right now.
Right, you've been playing a lot of games.
Yeah, but Red Dead Redemption, that's one I'm starting to focus on a little more because I've gotten some stuff done.
Man, Red Dead Redemption 2 is really awesome. I've been watching playthroughs of it.
It's weird. It's almost too good to a fault. I don't know, it's so detailed. And so things like traveling take a long time. There is fast travel, but it's to very specific places, like towns, essentially.
Right.
And so they address that, and part of me is like, okay, I mean, it's just some quality of life stuff. Like, let us fast travel to a few more places. I don't. You don't have to be everywhere, but a few more places. Also, I really love the travel because they do put a lot of good dialogue between the characters on the way if it's in a mission. Or if you're just riding somewhere not in a mission, you'll come across something. There will be animals you can hunt. There will be people on the side of the road that you can interact with. Stranger missions will pop up. So it's I want both. I want it to be faster, but also when it's not, there's some good stuff that shows up anyway. And
I remember when I very first started playing Oblivion, I had never played an Elder Scrolls game before.
Yeah.
And I didn't know there was such thing as fast travel.
Oh.
And I walked everywhere. And I loved it for a while.
Yeah.
I actually really, because for a while there was all kinds of things. Eventually I had pretty much explored the entirety of the map.
Right.
And I put hundreds of hours into Oblivion.
Right.
And then I discovered that fast travel existed and it changed my life.
Yeah.
But so Red Dead Redemption 2, it does something that I feel like video games haven't really done well before, and I'm super impressed because it A, took a risk on the side of Rockstar.
Well, sure.
And B, has been incredibly successful. And that's the level of immersion that they have brought into this game. Because you have to do everything.
Or you have the option of doing so many things you don't need to.
Right. And, so you were just talking about a mission with me earlier when you had to muck out a pen. And I'm guessing it wasn't just a cutscene where you mucked out pen.
No, you're walking around.
You had to muck out the pen.
Pig poop and putting it in a wheelbarrow.
Right, and it's just such trivial things that you have to do.
Right,
like shave or whatever.
Drink coffee in the morning. You don't have to. But PlayStation Access, which is a YouTube channel, one of the guys, Rob, on it was talking Red Dead Redemption 2. I have a routine when I wake up in the morning.
A better routine than his actual one.
He gets up, he sits at the fire for a little bit, drinks his coffee, and then gets on the way on his day.
There are people to talk to in your camp.
Yeah.
They have different conversations depending on when you're there. It's so cool.
The immersion level is just so much fun.
Right.
Yeah.
You feel like Spider-Man. I mean, a cowboy. You feel like a cowboy.
Oh man, it's such a good game though. Just to the level of they have not spared any expense.
Right.
And luckily they made all of those expenses back times a million.
Right. Well, I couldn't imagine a game that needed 2 Blu-ray discs.
Man.
And then this game comes out and I watch it and I'm like, oh yep, I get it.
I see all the Blu-ray right
That's
there.
Fair. Yeah.
There
are rays of blue
there's
all over
the Blu-ray.
this. Speaking of which, green rays, there's UFOs in it. Have you seen this?
Whoa, stop it. Spoilers, man. It's the ultimate non-spoiler game. There's so many things that just show up. I knew it would have been...
These are goofy little Easter eggs.
Oh, I'm sure. But I really I'm looking forward to finding those things.
Oh, yeah.
I did have a friend tell me that he was riding somewhere at night and saw a big bonfire somewhere, in the woods or something. And he's like, I'm going to go check out what it is. And it was a KKK rally. and they were basically like burning a man.
Did you just get to murder everybody?
I
at
don't
that
know.
point?
I don't
See. That's another thing that I like is there's that one guy on the internet who dragged a feminist to a swamp and fed her to an alligator.
Right, that was the one thing that people that highlighted of
right. He's done
content.
a lot of crazy things, but that
that's
one
kind
thing,
of what he does.
Yeah, people got really mad at. But you can do the other thing too.
Right.
You can walk in on the KK rally and murder everybody
Right,
if you want
absolutely.
to. And it's just one of those things that's like this is a real world.
Yeah.
Like they don't spare on the dirty details because they're real things.
To me, there's like Fallout and Elder Scrolls, which are different genres, but to me, both very similar in how they
Absolutely. Well,
go.
they're
Like,
both Bethesda.
both Bethesda.
Right.
Right. But they're very similar in their like. Well, I guess Fallout's a little more like. A little more funny. I don't know what I'm exactly, but they're very similar. And to me, it's like Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead are now. Even though Grand Theft Auto obviously has far more games,
Right.
They're both like very similar, but they have this different tones to them. And I'm fine with Grand Theft Auto. I like what it does to a certain extent. But Red Dead to me is perfect in that it takes itself ultra seriously until there's moments of levity. And
Right.
then there's like jokes, like, whatever. But like apparently UFOs will show up. But
Maybe.
it takes
I
itself,
don't know. What are you talking about?
it takes itself so seriously, but it's done so well that it works.
Yeah, it's got this great balance between the seriousness and the jokingness of it,
Yeah.
and it brings the jokes like either sparingly enough or the jokes like I just watched Mr. Odd do a mission where you just get super drunk. And
I've not done that one yet. I've heard about it.
This isn't like The Hangover where you just wake up and you got to go
Right,
back and like
right.
no, you're playing as your suit, and it's
Right.
the smash cuts are hilarious. Just like you'll be like start like what, and everything's all like weird and like twisted of
Right.
you, like what are you looking at, Mister? I don't like you, and then it smash cuts and you're like doing a dance with him, and like you guys are like swinging around and whatnot. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just the whole thing is hilarious,
it's-
but
it's really, really
natural.
good.
Like
Yeah.
it's also real in the world. So
Sure.
yeah, well done, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yep.
The
I've
question is,
go ahead.
The question is going to be is like, is it better than God of War or any of the other incredible Spider-Man?
I'm real pumped for the awards. We're going to talk about those next week.
Next week,
Because
the
the
nominees just
awards
came
are
out.
coming out, which I have also questions of why they're in December and not in January, so that you can
Right.
include the entire year.
It's
It's
weird.
weird to me, but anyway, yeah, we'll talk about that. But I think God of War is still as a preview here, is still my game of the year.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I can get into reasons, but
right.
But yeah, I've also been playing the Spider-Man DLC.
Yeah,
Which the second, as of this recording, the second chunk of it downloaded or came out today. So I'll be playing that probably tomorrow or Thursday. But I played the first one and I really loved it. It was just like they clearly saw people like the open world stuff, and so they added some extra things to do. But its main focus is the story. It didn't take long. I 100%ed it in less than 3 hours. But the story wise, bringing in Black Cat and involving Mary Jane a little bit more, and like it was really fun to get a few more characters in there and just kind of the dynamic between them, and so I really enjoyed that. I'm looking forward to the second part.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
What else have you been up to? Spyro?
Yeah, I 100%ed Spyro the Dragon because it's like it used to be. Well, I mean, not for me back then, but now it's the same game, so it's incredibly easy.
Yeah,
Yeah. Back when games, I think it has to do with just the maturity level that people viewed games at, back then. So it was a fun kids game, essentially. And so therefore it wasn't super difficult. But it was really fun. I'm looking forward to playing 2 and 3. I'll do those eventually. I've also been playing more Dragon Quest 11, which I was talking to you. It's basically filler the game. Like
yeah, but I love it.
Oh
And
yeah,
and you're out of episodes, jerk.
No, I have 4 more to put up still.
Yeah, but you haven't put them up. I've watched
You're
all
right.
the
I'm
episodes
so sorry.
that you have.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's JRPG tastic in the sense that you're doing this grand save the world thing, and like the story is very cliche,
Yeah.
but it's very well done. So I enjoy
It's
it.
really well done.
I almost
You can
died.
be cliche, but done well, and that's fine.
I did a boss fight the last thing I did was a big boss fight that I haven't put it up yet, but minor spoilers if you care about what specifically happens with my character. Like, it's not story wise. It's just I was very close to like all 4 of my people dying, and then I realized I could swap out characters whenever I want in the battle. And so I brought
swap out characters in battle.
I
like
didn't
Final
know
Fantasy
that.
X style?
They might have told me that at some point, but you can just swap out people.
I didn't know that
Yep.
either.
And so I did that, and I had a fresh team, and I won. I still need to grind a little bit because I got too close to dying for my taste.
Right.
This is also a pretty difficult boss for the game so far. But yeah, that blew my mind.
That's wow.
Unfortunately, the boss was close enough to dying that it wasn't a big deal, but these characters were under leveled. Like, they
Right.
just weren't the focus, and I didn't know exactly what their forte was, that kind of stuff. But anyway, yeah, like I said, been playing a lot of games.
I, on the other hand, have not been playing a lot of games. I've pretty much been playing one game, The Room.
Yep.
And so
Starring Tommy Wiseau.
I have, yeah, exactly.
Yep.
It's a really weird game.
Yep. It's amazing.
No, 3 puzzle games. I beat all 3 of them, and then found out there's a 4th one
What?
that's only on mobile right now, and I'm so mad
Just
about that.
use a camcorder to film yourself playing
I
it
actually
on
have
your
a screen
phone.
recorder.
Oh, there you go.
The thing is that I don't know how much memory I have on my phone,
Oh,
so I don't know if I
that's a
could
good point.
record like 20 minutes, an hour.
The rest of them
whatever.
were mobile
So-
games that they put on Steam, right?
Yeah, they
Okay,
all
so-
began mobile, then they went to Steam. So
hopefully this
should
one will
come
do
out
the same.
on Steam eventually.
Yeah.
But the Room 3 came out on mobile in 2015, and then released on Steam a week ago.
Oh, okay. So it's going to be a while.
It could be 3 years before The Room Old Sins comes out.
the saga of The Room.
Oh, it makes me sad.
Yeah.
But I also watched a Netflix movie recently, a Netflix original called The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Oh, you were telling me
Now,
about
it's
this.
a Coen Brothers movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, they directed it or, like, wrote it?
I'm not sure. I
they've
just know
written more
that
than
the
they've
whole
directed.
all the previews I saw for it were like type of movie that can only come from the Coen brothers.
Oh, okay.
And at least I think it's Coen. See, now you got me doubting myself, but I'm pretty sure. That's what it is.
Sure. That sounds like the name of a Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah, but it's a movie of short stories,
All right.
and some of these short stories are really, really good. The very first one, so little spoiler alert here, but there are probably a dozen stories.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. But the very first one is The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Okay.
That's the first short story. And it's about this, like, he looks like a hero. He's wearing all white, and he's got a white hat and white chaps, and he comes into town with his shiny silver gun, and basically he's like the cliche hero that is... But he's not a hero. He's like, I may look a hero, but I've been known to do some crime in my time. And
Okay.
he's like the perfect gunman. So he gets in a fight and he shoots the guy's trigger finger off.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
And then he shoots each of his other fingers off. And then he turns around and he holds a mirror and he's like, all right. And he's got his gun over his back and he's like, I got to account for the wind, but my gun's also upside down. And I'm looking in the mirror, so left is right, but right is left. But I may be overthinking this, so and he shoots the guy in the head, like, over
Sounds
his back
awesome.
with a mirror. But at the very end, another guy comes into town and is like, I heard you're the guy to fight, Mr. Scruggs. And he's like, well, here we go again. You see, it's really hard. And he's talking to the camera. Like, it's really hard being the guy that everybody wants to beat. And he turns around to the other guy, and the guy shoots him in the head. And it finishes with The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. It's this, he's singing as he's going into heaven.
Gotcha.
And the other guy is singing with him. And the whole thing is like, sometimes the cowboy's got to change his spurs for wings and go up to heaven. Anyway,
All right.
It's really cool. And it's really
Sure.
funny. It's camped. It's good.
Sounds
but
ridiculous.
There are other ones that are a little bit dumb. There are other ones that are really sad. There are other ones that are just weird and not great. But yeah, it
right.
was an interesting movie. It's one that you could watch like a couple parts of, then stop
Yeah.
and come back to it, so... But to me, it was very much like meta of Netflix, where Netflix right now pretty much just has this shotgun way of doing things where they
fund everything.
yeah, they produce as wide of a spread as possible, and hopefully some of it's a hit.
Yep.
This movie was like that as well. Like
right.
it was just
Oh,
all
yeah.
based in the Old West, but it's as wide of a shot as possible with a bunch of short stories, and some of them were hits, some of them were not.
All right.
So, but we also saw a movie recently.
We did.
Yeah. So with that being said, let's get down to the nerdy gritty.
Yeah. I don't think we said that last week.
No, we didn't say that last
Oh,
week. That's
sad.
fine though. Yeah. So we recently went and saw the Friday it came out.
Yep.
Went and
A
saw
couple days ago.
Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald.
Thank you. His name should be pronounced with a V. That just sounds eviler.
Right. Well, also
More evil.
Grindelwald is obviously like a Dutch or a German.
Right, yeah,
style
and he
name,
he has his stronghold in Austria, so
Right.
But yeah, anyway, that just sounds cooler.
Yeah, but I mean that also depends on who you ask in the movie itself.
Yes, several characters pronounce it differently, which is
Which I
dumb.
guess no.
I mean, people do that in
Yeah,
real life.
people do that in real
but
life.
also you should have, if he's a famous evil person, people should know what his name is.
Like my mom's maiden name is Gallardo, but we tell a lot of white people it's Gallardo.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just, I mean, even we, depending on who we're talking to, will pronounce it differently because
race traitor.
Well, a lot of white people can't say Gallardo.
No, because sure.
They'll say Gallard.
It's Gallardo.
Yeah, Gallardo. That sounds like a character.
Sounds like a comic book character.
Gallardo.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we saw this movie and it was. I liked it more than Fox liked it.
Yeah,
which is,
but I think we both gave it a fairly middling review.
Middling was good. I'd probably give it a 7. Fox maybe a 5
or 6. Yeah. Like I didn't not enjoy watching it.
Yeah, nor I. And it was good. And it was fun. And I'm willing to overlook slights for the sake of fun. And this movie had a lot of fun in it, I think.
It did. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So
to a certain extent.
Yeah. But what it did have a lot of was fan service.
It had more fan service than the one before it.
Yes.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them was, they had small things where it's like, oh, I know what that's talking about. And this one had a lot more of it.
Right.
But first we should kind of discuss fan service, what it is.
So what is fan service, Fox?
Well, there's actually 2 definitions in my brain.
Okay.
Fan service, as a general term, is used like it rewards somebody who is a fan of the source material for knowing more than is necessary for the movie that you're watching. That's kind of how I look at it. Like this thing that you knew about, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But and so you're like, oh, I get it, and you're like, yeah, I would get a reward. There's also the other definition of like a fan service character in an anime, that's just some girl who dresses like, whatever, or it's like a character dressed in a certain, like that's a fan service thing as well, where it's like you just wanted to see this girl wearing a bikini, so here you go, fans. That kind of thing. That's not what we're talking about.
Dead or Alive volleyball.
Yes,
style
Extreme
fan
Beach
service.
volleyball. Yeah.
So
we are talking about 1920s, so that's not really a thing.
Yeah,
that's when this movie is set.
That's not. See, I wouldn't even call that fan service.
That's the term that is used.
Perv service.
Well, sure,
but
the term is used commonly to refer to that.
Service.
We are talking about the reward that a fan gets. For
so if you are really well known in the Potter universe, there are things that happen in Fantastic Beasts that you'd be like, hey,
I get that reference.
But very Captain America style. I get that reference.
Yep. See, that was great.
But but if you don't know it, it doesn't hurt the story at all.
Sure.
You're not going to be like, wait, what's going on? I don't understand what's happening here. So Fantastic Beasts had a good amount of it. Right. And some of it was really cool. Some of it was not very great.
Yeah, it kind of, they sprinkled it throughout, and I don't think any of it was ruined the movie or
by no means.
None of it. But we both have agreed that there was some instances of, oh, that was clever, or that was fine, and then also like, they could have done that better.
So before we move on, spoiler alert.
Yeah, big spoilers.
Big spoilers for Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald.
Yep.
Let's save the really big one, the ending for the ending of our podcast, because I want to address that.
Yeah.
So let's save the really big ending for the end of the podcast.
The end twist.
We may even like give a second spoiler.
Sure.
At that point.
That one's a big deal. Although it might not should have been.
Right.
Yeah.
But until then, we're going to be talking about the movie, things that happen in the movie.
Yeah.
We'll give away plot points. They may or may not be giant plot points. We haven't planned out our conversation, obviously.
Nope.
So just beware. If you don't want to hear any of this, then go watch it and then come listen to our podcast.
Sure.
So, Fox, let's start with you. what was an example of the one that stands out in your head right now of fan service that you thought well of or did not think well of? Tell me about it.
I really like, so obviously it's about Grindelwald, he's like basically the Voldemort's analog in this.
Yes.
He's the evil wizard trying to do an evil thing, and he has followers. And several times throughout the movie, I can remember there was Abernathy was one of them.
Right.
I think there were a few others where he name drops people, like tells them specifically, "Hey, Abernathy, go do this thing." And you don't need to know that guy's name; he's just a henchman. But if you know the Harry Potter universe, you know that Abernathy comes
As a Death Eater.
like his descendant.
Yeah.
Basically. Is a Death Eater, and so it's like, oh yeah, it's one of those. It's one
That
the family of,
obviously stayed in the dark arts.
they continued
Yeah.
in the dark arts. So I actually really liked those. That
Yeah.
I thought was good fan service because it was very subtle. If you didn't catch it, you wouldn't think you wouldn't have a second thought about it. You wouldn't be
Right.
like, well, who's Abernathy? What do I? No, you wouldn't even just some guy's name. But
Yeah.
if
It wasn't
you,
like, come and help me. Abernathy. Dun, dun, dun. You know, nothing like that.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was just a casual mention, which,
Right.
again, it could have been any name. It could have been, come help me, Smith.
For
And it
example,
wouldn't fine,
there's
felt
another
natural.
name drop in a movie, Star Trek Into Darkness, where Broccoli Cabbage Patch, he turns to the
Right.
basically there's this huge
He's
dramatic
talking about
moment
Benedict Cumberbatch.
when
just
you
so
find
guys know.
when you find out that he is Khan, and it basically is delivered that way. And in that movie, in that story, that's not a big deal. Like,
right. You don't if if no other
if
idea.
you don't know who Khan is from Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan, then you're like, why did it say it so dramatically? And in that story, regardless of outside, like, his name wasn't a big deal. He was
Right.
he was this, yeah, sure, he was important. They knew about him before, or no, they didn't even know it was him yet. At that point, that's why it was a big revelation to them. But it just felt so forced and so audience centered because it was supposed to be so dramatic, even though it made no sense for it to be dramatic. They did it really well in Fantastic Beasts, where these names that they're dropping, whatever.
Yeah, there's another one where Dumbledore is dismissing his class, and a student stops and says, "Dumbledore's our best," because there's a group of Aurors that are there to question Dumbledore.
Yes, yeah.
And so a student stops and says, "Dumbledore's our best teacher here. You know, don't hurt," whatever. Like, he kind of scolds the Aurors,
yeah.
and which that shows the student loyalty to Dumbledore, which is great. That's what it should be.
Yeah.
And then Dumbledore says, "That's enough, McLaggen." And then the guy walks out. And again, totally natural. But if you know the books, you know that McLaggen is a guy who tries to date Hermione in the later books.
Oh, see, I didn't even remember that.
Yeah, that's Ron's like rival.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even remember that.
Because
See, it didn't even matter.
They're both trying out for keeper.
Okay. Right here. Yeah, right here we're finding out that I didn't catch that one, or maybe I heard the name and I probably was like, oh, that's probably an important name, but it didn't matter.
Yeah, it was of no import at all.
Yeah.
But for me, who caught it, I'm like, hey, that was cool.
Yeah.
So it's a really simple way of just nodding to the fans and saying, "Hey, there you go. Here's what
Here's
you're
a little.
looking for."
Here's a little attaboy for like rewarding loyalty, essentially.
But there's some other parts that didn't do it as well. I'm going to talk about one right now that was middling, could have been done better, and then one that was bad, and one that I'm a little bit annoyed with, and we'll see how this goes.
Sure,
But the one that was middling was a character in this movie. So up to this point, we've talked about minor things, not even really spoilers.
Yeah.
Now we're going to get a little bit into the spoiler territory, more territory here. But Nicholas Flamel
He does.
comes and plays a part in
He
it.
shows up. Yeah.
If you don't know who Nicholas Flamel is, in the very first book, there's the Sorcerer's Stone, or if you actually care about history, the Philosopher's Stone.
That's what it's called in
Right.
in England. Is Harry
You know
Potter
why they
and the-
changed the Sorcerer's Stone?
Because the philosopher sounds too smart.
Exactly. Because
Yep.
they thought Americans would think philosopher sounds boring.
I have a copy of the Philosopher's Stone.
Do you really?
I found it in a used bookstore somewhere.
That's awesome.
I was like,
man.
oh, I should get this.
So, yeah, but the Philosopher's Stone is like an old alchemy title for something that helps give you eternal life.
Eternal life, yeah.
So they name drop Nicholas Flamel in the first book a couple times, doesn't really play a part in it.
They show that Dumbledore knew him.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he comes into the movie as well.
Yes.
As a living person and obviously an old person.
Living in Paris.
Yeah, living in Paris. And he's there and he exists and it's great. But the problem with this is we get it. It's Nicholas Flamel. You're nodding to the first book and the fact that Dumbledore knows him.
Sure.
It even makes sense that this is a person that Dumbledore knows and trusts.
Yeah.
And so that's why people have been sent to him. But he doesn't do anything other than be Nicholas Flamel.
Yeah, well, he doesn't do anything that you would expect Nicholas Flamel to do specifically.
Right.
His reputation to the Harry Potter world is as this great alchemist who is concerned with eternal life. And in this, there's basically 2 scenes that he shows up in. The first one, people, like, they're just there and they wake up at his house. And he's like, hey, guys, I'm Nicholas Flamel. And then he tells them, you should go here. He uses a little crystal ball thing to show, but that didn't really, it was whatever.
That wasn't even really alchemy.
It wasn't alchemy.
It could have been a Trelawney.
Yeah, it could have been Trelawney's grandmother or something.
Yeah.
That would have been better. And then he opens a safe, and you see the Philosopher's Stone sitting in the background.
Right.
Yeah, but it just sits there. He doesn't take it out and say, take this, it'll help, or something like that.
Right.
He doesn't give them an elixir of eternal life like is used in Philosopher's Stone.
Mm-hmm.
He just says, go here to this place. Also, I'm Nicholas Flamel.
Yeah.
And then he shows up
and then he looks
later.
at the camera and winks. Wink.
Wink.
He
shows
do
up
that. That's not
later
true.
and does nothing.
He does wizard
Really
things.
doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean,
aside from
he
what
does
everybody-
wizard things.
He casts a spell
spells.
that everybody else casts also.
Yeah, he helps people cast a spell. And
Yeah.
that's really it. But him being there, I mean, him being Nicholas Flamel was not important, and him even being there in
Yes.
that last part wasn't important.
Right.
They could have just had Newt Scamander
Dude, man.
be the one who's like, okay, everybody, let's do this.
Which should have happened.
Right.
Because Newt Scamander didn't do a whole lot
Or
in this
maybe his
movie.
brother, who's like this horror guy.
Yeah,
and he's
halfway
like,
in between the Ministry and the good guys,
and,
quote
and
unquote.
he's a lot more confident and strong, and so maybe
Sure.
he's the guy who stands up is like, and this moment, we won't get into the spoiler, but this moment is an important one for him.
It is, yeah.
And it's a really big moment for Newt's brother, who is Theseus. But I thought they were saying Lucius for a while,
Yeah.
and they kept talking about Lucius and his connection with the Lestranges, and I'm like, wait a second,
supposed to
are
be
Newt
young?
Scamander and Lucius Malfoy like sibling? Wait, but no, it's Theseus, not
Theseus.
Lucius.
Theseus
Yeah,
Scamander.
Theseus Scamander. That's a big moment for him, and to have him like stand up and be strong in that moment and say, all right, let's all get together and do this. I would have loved that way more than I liked Nicholas Flamel showing up.
Yeah, there's a problem in some movies. I think Indiana Jones 4 had this big problem.
Yes.
At least in the script that we saw of the movie that never got made.
Right.
Where if you're ever in the territory of having to give your character something to do, like just make up something for them to do, you got problems.
Yeah.
And that was a big problem that 4 had. Like after you find out that Shia LaBeouf is his son, after what's her name, Marion Ravenwood reveals that, she literally has nothing else to do in the movie.
Right.
She just is tagging along basically, and so she's just a burden, like doesn't do anything helpful. And in this, they had to give characters something to do and chose not to. Like there were important characters that could have done more. Instead, they brought in fan service man who did something that anybody could have done.
And it would have been cool if he came and was like, if everybody stood around and they were like, oh, there's this big evil spell, we don't know how to counter it. And he comes
Sure.
in with like a potion and throws it like a AoE, like an area of
grenade.
effect spell, or like pours it on the ground, or maybe somebody's hurt with something and there's no magic that can stop it, but he pours an elixir in their mouth.
That was my fan rewrite, was that there's a character who basically makes a sacrifice for no reason, really. What he should have been like, I can save her. Like, do something that is specific to what his character would know how to do.
Right.
But instead, it was nothing.
Yeah,
He just shows up.
He just shows up and does wizard magic,
Yeah.
and then I don't even know if they have like anything after.
I think
that
he's
moment.
just gone. I think,
yeah.
bye.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go get lunch now.
Yep.
We'll see you guys later. And so yeah, that was a little disappointing. I mean, again, and he probably was in the movie for a solid 15 total minutes, would be my guess.
Maybe. I'd say less than that. That first scene was real short.
Either way,
4 or 5.
it wasn't 30 seconds.
Right.
It was enough that he was a character in the movie, and his character felt a little forced, unfortunately.
Now, to be honest, he could come back and do something important coming up. There could be a sacrifice that somebody makes that he is there to help them. Or I would love a big, long, in-depth plan created by Dumbledore to take down Grindelwald, in which he sacrifices himself knowing that, that
he can't
Flamel,
die in this.
What?
Flamel can't die in this. Oh, I see.
No, I'm
Dumbledore
just saying, like, there's like this whole
this
whole plan that Dumbledore sacrificed himself, knowing that Flamel will save him.
With the Sorcerer's Stone
there could be
elixir.
this whole thing. I understand that, but in this specific film, he's kind of pointless.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's a little disappointing because they could have done more with him.
I understand the irony. I've never written a screenplay, but Screenwriting 101 says everything has to matter. Right. Every scene has to be pushing the plot forward or telling you about a character in an important way or doing something that if there's ever a scene where if you cut it out or even like lines of dialogue that if you cut them out wouldn't matter, then you've got a problem.
Yeah.
And that kind of describes Nicholas Flamel's character in this whole thing.
Yeah.
Him being Nicholas Flamel. He did an important thing where he told them to go somewhere, but that could have been done in any way.
Yeah, anybody could have done that.
Yes.
Any way they could have done that. And we also always have to recognize editing that, maybe they filmed a bunch of really important scenes with Nicholas Flamel.
A movie is
and then they cut
a lot of moving parts.
Right.
You can never really tell exactly who it is.
But at the end of the day, Nicholas Flamel felt like a forced character.
He did, yes.
Now, fan service that annoyed me, that I thought was done badly.
Are we talking about the big deal one?
Not yet.
Oh, not even. Okay.
This is a different one, and this is, again, minor spoiler. Up to this point, we haven't released anything huge.
Okay.
There's a flashback memory, and it's from when one of the characters, Lita Lestrange, was probably 10 years younger, would be my guess.
Oh, yeah.
And McGonagall was there.
Yes. Yeah, it shows her in,
as
at
a teacher.
School, at Hogwarts, yes.
In canon,
in the Harry Potter
the
universe.
Harry Potter, because Pottermore is a website in which J.K. Rowling keeps adding to the universe.
All of this is written by J.K. Rowling.
Yes, in the J.K. Rowling's canonical universe, McGonagall's not even born yet.
She is born 10 years
35
after this movie.
Right. Let alone being a wizard and then a teacher. She's
enough
not
to be
even
a professor.
born yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe this is her mom? I don't know.
That would be... I mean, it's possible, but clearly not what they were going for.
Yeah, but there's this moment in which there's a flashback, and they are just name-dropping for the sake of name-dropping.
Yes.
McGonagall.
Yes.
But this is one that raises more questions than anything else. This
Yeah.
isn't Abernathy. That makes sense. His, Abernathy the Death Eater, his great-grandfather or whatever, also supported Grindelwald. They are still in dark. That makes sense. Or McLaggen. That makes sense. He's a Gryffindor and
confident guy, willing to,
Yeah. Wait, McGonagall?
Wait a minute.
Hold on a second.
How old is
here.
she? She's 150 if this is canon.
And they talk about how old Dumbledore is in the books. Dumbledore is super old.
160 or something like that, I think.
But at the end
maybe not that old.
But at the end of the day, J.K. Rowling has written herself in canon
Yeah.
that Minerva McGonagall was born in 1935.
Right.
The movie is set in 1928 or something like that.
You know what? Here's to me what makes that even is 27. Here's what
27.
makes that even worse is that these movies are a huge opportunity to expand the wizarding world.
Yeah.
We as the Harry Potter universe or fans want more. My wife, when we were discussing this, brought up the fact that Harry Potter finished, 1997 was the first book, so the books can't finish 10, 15 years ago now.
Yeah.
And the movies finished, I think, 7 or 8 years ago now. Maybe earlier, 9 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
So the people who are big fans of those are older. We are in our 20s, 30s, 40s. We want more.
Yeah.
We're not being introduced to this anymore. We know what's going on. We know the world. And we want more. And so that's the real, aside from just annoying name dropping or, nonsensical name dropping, missed an opportunity to expand this world. Like, we are willing. Like, if he had said Professor McGrimble,
Right.
we would have been like, oh, who's McGrimble? Oh, let's create a whole backstory. You know, like, maybe not me specifically, I'm not into that, but people would have, and she would have had her own, like, epic fan story immediately.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, instead, it's, wait, what?
Yeah, hold on.
One of those
McGonagall
answers,
doesn't make sense in this.
as a creator, wanting people to really enjoy yourself, one of those answers, or one of those reactions is much better. Oh, I love her. I want to make more about her. I want to know more about her. Or, that doesn't make any sense. Like,
Yeah.
You had this opportunity to do something more, but instead chose to be confusing and kind of ruin.
For the sake of dropping a name.
For the sake of dropping a name that wasn't even necessary to drop.
Not at all.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, at the time of this flashback, it had to have been 1918.
Well, the theory is that, that flashback, sure. When she's younger, there's another flashback where she's possibly on the Titanic?
Yeah.
We're not
that
sure.
one's, man.
That one was like, that also felt like a really forced story point.
No,
too.
I like that story point, but that's
Yeah,
not
we
what we're
don't-
talking
we're
about.
not talking
And again,
about that.
we're trying not to get into too spoiler of territory. At least we were trying not to get into too spoilery of territory
You've been warned, all right?
until now.
Yeah, sure. Now,
Here we are.
Here's the big deal one at the very
So,
end.
Up until this
Seconds
point,
from the
you didn't
end.
mind any of these spoilers. I'm telling you right now, you will mind this spoiler.
Yes.
This is the big one.
If you know this before it happens in the movie, you'll just be thinking about it the whole time.
Yeah.
And saying, what? That will be your reaction. Wait, what?
So, you have been warned.
Yes.
Here we go. At the end of the movie, the whole movie is this thing about who is Credence. Like, who is Credence? What's his backstory? Is he a Lestrange? Is he a Grindelwald? Who is he?
Is he
Where
just
is
some
he?
dude?
Yeah, is he just some dude? And then at the very end of the movie, Grindelwald calls him a Dumbledore.
Yes.
What's his name? Aurelius.
Aurelius Dumbledore.
Aurelius
Grindelwald is
Dumbledore.
interested in Credence because he's this powerful wizard, and so he wants to get to him. And at this point, he says, "The name I now restore to you, Aurelius Dumbledore."
Right.
And then he does this big spell and like blows up part of a mountain, and then the movie ends.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be this like whoa movie or point
Moment.
in the moment. That's
Yeah.
what I'm looking for. Moments. And for us, the six people that we were that we were in a group of, all of us who are all fans of the Harry Potter universe are just like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like, wait, what?
Wait a minute.
We actually gathered outside of the theater and probably stood there for like 10 minutes trying to figure out how the crap that would work.
That doesn't. Yeah.
Wait a second.
This. Yeah. There's a whole lot to it that. Look, we're saying here that it's not impossible for them to just come up with a reason why we didn't know about it.
Right.
It's magic.
Yeah.
Everybody's memory was erased. Some bullcrap like that can happen. But it, again, felt like a terrible usage of... It felt like it was just trying to defy your expectations rather than give you a fulfilling, like, twist.
Right.
Or, like, an interesting plot point.
And they could have used any number. At that point, they could have called him a McGonagall. And, like, that would have been so cool. Like, it wouldn't have hurt any story, anything at all. But he could have been, like, McGonagall. And everybody, at least I would have been just as, like, in fact, more like, oh, whoa.
I mean, I'm going to throw this out here, and this might
Crazy.
also be impossible. It would have probably felt terrible, but would it have been better for it to be Aurelius Riddle? Would that have been better for you?
Probably not better.
No?
Because we know Voldemort's...
We know a lot of stuff about him.
Because the Riddle family were Muggles. And it was the Marvolo... I can't remember his last name, yeah. But
been a while since
the
I
other
read the
family
books.
was, really old family. And so... But... It's something other than, like, the fact that it's Dumbledore, just like with the McGonagall thing, raises more questions than answers.
In a bad way.
In a bad way.
Raising questions is fine.
Right.
Especially if you're leading into another story.
Right.
I think Star Wars, The Force Returns, or The Force Awakens.
Force Awakens.
Force Awakens did this great. Did it in a great way.
Like,
You mean Force Awakens or Last Jedi?
Force Awakens.
Okay.
I think they did a really good job in raising questions like, who is
Oh yeah, who is Rey?
Rey?
Yeah.
Who are these characters? What's going to happen? And you're looking forward to what's coming next because you don't know. And you have theories, but you don't know. And I think Last Jedi kind of ruined a lot of that. But
I'll fight you.
but this did it in a way it's like, no, we have preconceived knowledge. We have pre-established canon knowledge that this is flying in the face of.
Yeah.
And so to go for several years now with just, this doesn't make any sense, that's just disappointing.
Well, and the McGonagall thing was just kind of poor fan service. Like,
Oh, sure,
you know,
yeah. It had nothing to do with the story.
This is the plot point, and we read an article. I sent to you an article that was talking about, wait, there are only two ways this could make any sense at all.
Yes.
Number one, Grindelwald is lying,
Yeah, well,
which
sure.
is very possible.
It's very possible.
Because Grindelwald wants to use Credence, and
Right.
you saw that it was really well established in the first movie. It was established in the first movie that he's willing to lie to Credence,
He's got a
willing to
silver tongue
manipulate
that
Credence.
manipulates
Yeah,
people, yeah.
absolutely. And Johnny Depp did a great job with that. There are times when Johnny Depp is talking, and you're like, man, what he's saying actually makes sense.
Oh, yeah, sure, you can kind of agree with him. He looked a little too evil for my
Right.
taste.
Oh
but
my god.
yeah.
My wife comments that first thing. My wife turns to me and she's like, "Was he always albino, or does dark magic just turn you white?" Like,
Was Dumbledore into this weird albino guy?
so it's just this moment where either A, Grindelwald could be lying, or B, they're just gonna have to say magic,
Magic!
magic.
In Doctor Who, they say timey-wimey.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how they explain things that have no explanation. And that's
Magicy wagicy.
Magicy wagicy.
Yeah.
That might be exactly what they have to do here.
Because there's a time when Dumbledore was aware of his family
Yeah.
and lived with them,
Right.
as well as his younger brother
Aberforth.
Aberforth, and they're there, and then Dumbledore's dad gets sent to Azkaban,
Right?
and so unless they're allowing
that-
some conjugal visits in Azkaban.
Which, I don't know if that doesn't really seem to be a thing.
Yeah, or unless a Dementor and let's create
All right,
half
no, let's go with that.
Dementor.
I like it. He's half Dementor.
Like, there's no way that the dad's gonna sire anybody. And then there's the mom, and at least Aberforth lived with the mom and the daughter until during an accident, the daughter killed the mom on accident.
Okay, right.
And so we are aware of the Dumbledores until either the dad is taken or the mom dies. We don't know how there could be another Dumbledore after that.
Right.
For 16, 18-year-old Credence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's just time itself does not seem to work into it. Now, again, if this is just random fan service like in with McGonagall, it's one thing. But this is a really big plot point, guys. Yeah. This is really important. And in the time and in the characters that you've set up, it doesn't make sense.
Right. And the issue here for me in this movie specifically is not that I don't know the answer to how this is possible. It's that there was no establishment that it was coming. I would have liked to see Dumbledore be mysterious and hint at, or there's a picture on his wall, or he looks at it, like him not knowing at all doesn't seem like it should be true. There should be there should have been some establishment. I really like twists where it still blows your mind, but when you go back and watch it, you're like,
nods to it.
Okay,
yeah.
That's where that was all leading to. All this is not necessary. I get that. I'm just complaining, but also it felt so forced and it felt unearned.
On exactly that, there's a bad writing point in which Newt and Dumbledore are just chatting, and Dumbledore, for seemingly no reason, just says, "Yeah, there's an old family rumor that a phoenix will come to any Dumbledore in need."
Yep.
And he just kind of says that
randomly.
randomly.
Says it.
And immediately I thought of the moment in Deadpool when Deadpool looks exactly at the screen and says, "And that's what they call foreshadowing." And I'm like, that's going to come into play.
100%.
And then later on, Credence is playing with a baby bird.
Right.
And at that moment, when I saw Credence with a baby bird, the very first words out of my mouth were, "Don't be a Dumbledore." Don't be a Dumbledore.
Oh,
and he was, yeah. And I was just like, come on.
Yep.
And I was disappointed with that. As a huge fan of the Potter series, a giant fan. I am really fat and love the Harry Potter series.
Yep, both true. This is another opportunity for them to expand into new territory.
Yeah.
Like, you're in Paris, you're in America in the first one, we're expanding the universe, and you chose to just bring it to another another thing that we already know about.
What Credence Malfoy?
Credence Smith. We don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I mean,
Make him
people are
something
going to
different.
disagree with me on this. I love that Rey is not a descendant
It's
of
great.
any
It's
important
great.
people.
That's a good way to upend your expectations while also feeling interesting.
I loved that Kylo Ren is just kind of looming over and he's like,
Yes.
say it. It's like they were nobody.
You're just space trash or something like
Yeah,
that. Like,
absolutely.
Or her parents were space trash or space garbage or something like that.
Yeah,
Like
and-
that's great because it's not like everybody wants her to be a Skywalker or to be a whatever. She's not. She gets to be her own person.
So, I mean, can you imagine Grindelwald looking into Credence's eyes and saying, you weren't to Lestrange? And Credence says, no, I'm nobody. And then Grindelwald says, yes, but you can become somebody.
Boom!
You know,
that
like
would have
that.
been so much better.
I know.
With my help, you can become who you're meant to be, or
Yes,
something like
yeah,
that.
like
oh,
forget about your past. You sure maybe you're nobody, but we're gonna make somebody of you.
right. It's like that temptation of knowing who you are, because now he's like, wait, I feel like I guess Aurelius is now just like, wait, what?
Just as much as the rest
like
of the
we
theater.
are him now.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, man? I read those books. That doesn't make any sense.
So
Yeah, that is very disappointing.
yeah, there was a lot of fan service in it. Some of it was done real well. I loved, like you said, I loved with the name, Abernathy name drop.
Yeah, just
I
a few
loved
of those little
the
things.
McLagan name drop. There's just a couple of spells in there, or little like in the first one, like, oh, this is a bowtruckle, and then they like talk about what a bowtruckle is, and
Yeah.
the bowtruckle plays a part in it. And I'm like, oh, cool.
Or even the fan service of just a scene or two being at Hogwarts. Like that, like sweeping, like establishment shot showing the castle was just like,
Yeah.
I love this place.
Yeah.
Didn't have to be there, but it really didn't matter.
Or there's a scene in the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom,
With the
and it's the
boggarts.
same same costume, the same classroom.
Same
It's
classroom,
the
same
Defense
situation.
Against the Dark Art classroom
which
that we've
scene
seen.
we could say is, I could talk about that, but it also was like, oh, a boggart. We know what that is
Yeah,
without
we know
having to
boggarts.
be told. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was really cool, and it was a lot of fun.
There was some good stuff to this movie. I wish it had more like Fantastic Beasts in it.
Yeah.
Like that big Chinese dragon cat thing was awesome.
That thing was amazing.
Yeah, I love the creature called a kappa, which was in this movie for 30 seconds. I wish he was in it more. Like it's called Fantastic Beasts, but that's just like whatever now. It's now whatever the subtitle is. I wish there was more. I wish Newt Scamander had more to do. And
Yep.
yeah, but there was some good, some bad. But overall, I did not enjoy the fan service.
Well, guys, let us know what you think about fan service in general. Let us know some good examples of fan service from your knowledge of nerdiness, or if you saw the movie, let us know what you thought of the movie.
Yeah.
Fox and I both had middling reviews. Mine was middling plus. His was probably middling minus.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, we both had middling reviews, which seems to be kind of the consensus right now. But maybe you loved it, maybe you hated it. I don't know. Let us know in the comments. Let us know about the fan service you think in the comments. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate your support, and always remember, saved games save lives.
Bye, guys.